Hello, my dear students. Which all of you are fine. Today, our class is actually on pastry, as it's our part of cakes and pastries. So it's named like that, cakes and pastry factory. But actually, we will today learn about what is pastry, some examples of different kinds of pastry like that. And I'm your course teacher, Ifata Jahan, and today I already mentioned about the topic, so now we have to know about what is pastry and their types. So first of all, what is pastry actually? So in our Bangladesh, usually we say that whenever we use cream upon in the upper part of any cake, it's called pastry. Actually, it's not like that. That means not like that we cannot say that part is a pastry. We also say that is a pastry, that is a type of pastry. In fact, muffin, whenever we use cream or any kinds of decoration of muffin, that's also one kind of pastry. But without that, there are several parts of pastry that we usually use in different countries. And today, actually, we will learn about some examples of pastry that is mostly used in different countries. But without that, there are hundreds of types of pastry that are used in the variation of different cultures, countries, and their food habits. So now we learn about that what is pastry. Actually, pastry is a dough of flour, water, and shortening. Shortening, mainly for using pastry, we mostly use the shortening or solid fat like butter or margarine. That may be savory or sweetened. And sweetened pastry, we already know it describes as baker's confectionery. And the word pastry actually suggests many kinds of baked product made from ingredients such as flour, sugar, milk, butter, shortening, baking powder, and eggs. And if you go for common pastry names or pastry dishes, that will be pies, tarts, or pasties that we say like cream pasties. And then our second one, that is some examples of different kinds of pastry that we are going to learn in details of them. That is short crust, sweet pastry, Choux, puff, flaky, and PHYLLO pastries. First of all, that is our shortcut pastries. And these are some pictures of that. If we go for shortcuts, it's some characteristics like it will be crisp, brittle, and it will be not elastic. It will be crisp and brittle. Whenever any baking product will be crisp and brittle, that means it will be not elastic. Okay, and it is usually used for making savory products. And there is a common characteristics of short crust that in case of preparing that crust, you have to rub fat. Okay, you have to rub fat into flour, and whenever you will do that, it will like look like breadcrumbs, and water is mixed after that, and we'll learn it in our methods. So how we prepare that shortcut paste or shortcut pastry? That is, first of all, mix the butter and flour by rubbing method. Here is a method that is known as rubbing. Okay, so what is that rubbing method? That means you have to rub butter into flour. You have to cut pieces of butter, and it will be chills or hard one. And then you have to rub this butter into flour to get breadcrumb size particles of mixture of butter and flour. And then cold water will be mixed, and then whenever the paste is prepared or dough is prepared, then you have to refrigerate it. Okay, and you have to refrigerate it in the refrigerator, and further you can use it by rolling it or flatten out in any kinds. And how we can use it? It can be savory tart. That is a figure you can check there. It is a tart. That is, there is some filling inside there. You also use shortcut pastries like pie for making that kinds of different materials used there. And actually the bottom portion is the shortcut pastry. And then flan, it's called flan. Actually, it's also like um, pies, but sometimes it can be spicy one. sometimes meat can be used there, and sometimes with preparing that filling, it you can use different kinds of spices, or you can also use eggs there. It's depend on your taste. Okay, so that is the use of for shortcuts. That is mainly in three kinds of that it is used. Without that, shortcuts can be used in another purpose. Then our second one is sweet pastry. So here is the word sweet. That means this kind of pastry actually you are used for sweetening test. Any kind of sweetening test you can use that. In case of short crust pastry, you use there with meat. We use there it different kinds of spices or eggs. But in case of sweet paste, we only use with the sweet test product, and it can be rolled or molded to shape. Okay, and if you go for the methods, it will be cream the batter with sugar till light and fluffy. That means you have to prepare the cream first, then you have to add egg there, and you have to keep beating. After that, you have to fold the shifted flour gently, avoid over mixing or the paste will lose softening effect. Then you have to represent the paste. This paste is almost look like a semi butter paste or cake paste. Okay, and after that you can use like that, like sweet tart or sweet pies. How it is, just rolled and cut into various shapes and baked as cookies. Then as a base of certain cakes and pastries, it's also used. Okay, that means the dough will be some thicker, some thicker than the cake dough. Okay, cake dough is semi batter or semi liquid. It will be not hard dough. It will be like soft dough that you can give any shape or you can prepare any cookie. Then our third one is the Choux pastry. It's a very light pastry. That is these kinds of pastry. Which one we say the Choux pastry? Actually, the pastry that is often filled with cream, like our cream buns. Okay, or these kinds of things that is hollow inside, and you can fill anything there. It can be cheese, it can be creams, or it can be any kinds of fruits. Whenever you add there, it's called the Choux pastry. But mostly creams are used there. So there are some characteristics that is light, well risen, crisp texture, hollow inside. It's the common characteristics of the Choux pastry, that it will be hollow inside, that you can add any kinds of cream or any flavored things there. Usually filled and coated, dough is piped into shape before baking. And if you use dough for that kind of pastry, it's actually a soft dough, as you can also use that by any bags or any kinds of piping kinds bags. The pastry is filled with various flavors of cream and is often topped with chocolate. And I already mentioned that is you can fill with other ingredients like cheese. It can be spicy one, tuna, chicken, or any kinds of appetizer. That is called the Choux pastries. For example, we can say that now we find different kinds of chicken bun. Okay, chicken bun, you can say one kinds of Choux pastries. Then our methods of Choux pastry, that is how we can prepare it. Place the water and fat in a pan and heat until both boil. Okay, that means water and fat you have to add until it boil. Then add all the flour at once, stir continuously with a wooden spoon till it leaves the sides. And with that, yeah, after that you can add egg there at a time, and you have to prepare a smooth paste. And the paste smoothness will be like that. Whenever you want to just give to shape it, you can fill inside of any bag, and then you can use it as a paste or as a base of any cookies like that. Then you have to bake it at high temperature, and initially the temperature will be low. After baking, it should be light and hollow from inside. Then our another kinds of pastry that is called puff pastry. Actually, it's very popular and it's called the king of pastry. So there are also some characteristics of that. What is that like? We already say that that will be puff, that will be puffy type materials, that will be leavening type materials, and there will be so much layer there. Okay, there will be layer more than 2 or 3. Puff pastries come out of the oven light, flaky, and tender. Some characteristics like rich buttery dough that bake into hundreds of light crisp layers. Okay, there are so much layer there, so it's called the puff. That is rolled into the dough, and here in case of this preparation, steam acts as a leavening agent. And in case of rolling, butter actually preferred for rolling within the flour. And after that, whenever prepare this as a dough, this dough actually just folded 4 or 5 times for preparing that puffness. Then there is some method there. For example, what is that? That add fat and rub it until it becomes a sandy texture. Okay, add salt then water and kneaded dough, and then you have to roll the dough and apply fat in it, and again roll and fold it for 3 times. Normally, you after preparing the dough, you again use their fat. That means you are using fat 2 times. First of all, you use fat for rubbing, okay, with flour, and second, you again apply the fat whenever you roll the dough. And in your rolling, you apply that folding 3 times minimum. Okay, and then you give your desired shape and brush with egg wash. Bake for 5 to 20 minutes, and almost all pastries baking time is from 192 to 220 degrees centigrade. And after that, that is another one is flaky pastry. That is its characteristics like that. It is a light, flaky, uneven pastry, almost similar to puff pastry, but there is a difference there. What is that? In we layer the fat every rolling or folding in the flaky pastry. Okay. In case of puff pastry, we also use fat, but if it's not mandatory that in your every folding you have to use fat. But in case of flaky pastry, it's mandatory that you have to use fat in every folding. For example, it's used like fruit flans, turtles. Then if you go for method, it's like that. Shift the flour and salt together in a large bowl, then add butter there. Then you have to mix that mixture, both of them. Then add ice water to the bowl and stir gently with the fork. Then turn the dough out onto floured wood surface. That means you use flour there. Then you have to smear the dough, or you have to knead the dough well. And after that, you have to prepare a ball and chill the ball till 20 minutes. And after that, you can roll that dough and give a rectangular shape. Okay. And if we check for the picture, if you go for that, that is, you can give that shape or you can give that shape. Okay, normally flaky pastry we use that is given that kinds of shape. Most of the flaky pastries like that. So here it used like that, you give a rectangular shape, but you can use any one as you wish. And you have to repeat that as puff pastry for 3 times, and you have to fat in every layer as you can. And after third layering, you have to cut it to inside and give the desired shape. Then our PHYLLO pastry, that is our last one. That is PHYLLO is actually paper thin pastry dough uses in many layers. And PHYLLO is generally wrapped around a filling and brushed with butter before baking. These pastries are very delicate and flaky. If you go for a picture, it will be like that. It's a picture of PHYLLO. Okay, and it's these pastry are normally is actually filling with some kinds of material. It can be chocolate, it can be spices, it can be chicken, any kinds of materials. If you go for the procedure, it's like that. You have to shift the flour first and salt, and then you have to add gradually warm water there, and then pour the dough into a pastry board and pour oil into bowl. Then knead the dough, and after kneading, you have to roll the ball of the dough, and then you have to sit the dough for 2 hours, and then cover the pastry board with cornstarch and put the dough into it, and again you have to raise the dough for 10 minutes. Then you will give it desired shape as you want. If you want to give any kinds of filling there, you also can do that, and after that you have to bake it. So that was for today. That is our different kinds of pastry. Without that, there are different kinds of pastry actually found. In fact, it is found in our confectionaries. So we just learn just types or uses of pastry, that without that, cakes or muffins, that is can be used as pastry in different confectionery. So that's for today. Thank you.